If you are someone who has many passions, many talents, many skills, yet struggles to know how to express all of those passions in life, which one to choose, which one to focus on, which to make a career out of, I want to offer you an alternative route, some out-of-the-box insight and wisdom and sort of personal story of how I've forged my creative career, because I see so many ambitious creatives that feel this pressure and this struggle to apply just one of their skills to the world, to niche down, so to speak, and give that gift only. And I want to push back on that idea, because I think that if you have multi-passions in your life, they are there for a reason. And they are there to unfold in a way that maybe is non-linear, that isn't quite easy to identify at first, and we have to learn how to trust that unfolding. So my name's Kev. I'm an award-winning furniture designer, but now I do a lot of creative strategy, helping ambitious creatives design and build creative businesses that they love, that feel aligned from the inside out. And so why I feel so passionate about rooting for the polymath and the multi-passionates is that's my personal story. I have like the blessing and the curse, right? It's a paradox, the catch-22, the double-edged sword of having so many things that I'm interested in. From all of the arts that involve using my hands. I got started doing surfboards growing up. That was my first business, was making surfboards. Then I got into furniture. Then I got into architecture. Then I got into writing. And then I got into saunas and all of these different things that are all blends of my unique expression of who I am in each moment, what's bringing me alive in each moment, which changes. So from using my hands making surfboards to writing, coaching, consulting, to designing architecture, I've felt so many pressures to just fucking pick one and go for it. And I want to give some space to honoring that route. Everything that I've really doubled down on, cut out the noise, and just focused on has been such a wonderful lesson for me. And some of those cases have bared some beautiful fruit, yet they left me feeling split. Whenever I felt like I had to choose one sort of career path, I felt this inner tension that nobody resourced me to navigate. There really is such a strong tension between structure and flow. And I think it's an extraordinarily necessary tension. Much like, masculine and feminine, sort of discipline and spontaneity. We need both, right? But I think what happens when we're told to niche down, pick one thing and focus on it is we end up deciding, going gung-ho, spending years learning this thing. And while that's an amazing lesson, what we don't tend to do is spend a lot of time feeling through the decision itself. In the same way that people decide to go to college and they're expected to know what career they want to pursue, so they decide, I'm going to study, architecture and go to school at 18. While I'm so grateful for that decision, I didn't really spend much time feeling through. And that ended up being one of the instances where I felt like I was really blessed, and that was such an amazing decision. It was like a deep trust and a deep inner knowing. But for the most part, we really spend very little time thinking and feeling through what really matters, We tend to jump blindly into something and try to make it work, which you can prove your resilience. If you went to school for graphic design, and you decided, I'm just going to dive into graphic design, and you go and you got a job and you're 5 years in and you're feeling great until you're not, right? Until something else is calling you and you realize maybe you haven't created space or you abandoned previous passions, What I see in the world of the polymath is two things. Either we sort of abandon our kind of multi-passionate nature, which really makes us come alive. We abandon it to focus on one thing and we go all in, and we know that something might be a little off. Or what's happened for me is I apply 10% of myself to 10 things and I get frustrated wondering why I'm not seeing the results, or we don't really get to fully execute on any of our ideas. So it's a paradox, right? What brings us alive as polymaths is being multi-passionate. But as that relates to business and career and generating abundance and income to support you, the ones that you love, and to give you more resources to make shit happen in life, it gets pretty slippery, it gets pretty slippery. But I think the most important thing that we can do as polymaths is to honor our nonlinear path. If you're anything like me, you've spent a lot of time doing your kind of deep inner work. You've spent a lot of time really discovering who you are, being in the inquiry and self-discovery of your spirituality, your divinity, your consciousness. And as you know that it applies to everything that you do in your life, you still sort of struggle to know how to best show up. And a phrase that I come back to time and time again, and something that comes up a lot with clients of mine that are offering such unique things to the world is, hey, you're not wrong, you're just early. If you're still listening to this video, chances are you're someone who's really ambitious. You're really innovative, you're really forward-thinking. If you're anything like me, you're Aquarius. So you're just already like, the way that your mind and your body is attuned to what wants to be created is like so 2050, like futuristic vibes, right? And that can be frustrating, that can be really, really frustrating when you feel like, man, I have all of these interests, but it seems like I don't know quite how to package it for the world. Like there's not a system in place in the world that can catch this and receive this, value it, and transact it. Again, you're not wrong, you're just early. What if your dream career, your dream business is a whole new archetype, is a whole new sort of paradigm of an offering to the world, Just like things in the last 5 years, we've had the creation of so many different types of jobs, so many different types of careers, so many different types of titles for what it is that you do, the shit I can even say, like, I'm a creative embodiment coach. Like, what the fuck is that? I can help people learn how to play in their creative expression and be in their business with integrity and their deep connection to their body and their core values. It's like, what the fuck is that? You can make money doing that nowadays, So all that to say is like, I see so many people who are conscious, who are multi-passionate, that are frustrated because their career might not quite exist yet. The unique triad and blend, or ikigai, if you're familiar with that Japanese framework, is still in the works of being created in this world. The space is being made for your unique offering, and if it's not there already, you have to go out and create it. But I believe that the space is being made for all sorts of new career paths and businesses to emerge. I mean, dude, you have like freaking tech billionaire CEOs that are talking about doing ayahuasca and having, shamans as mentors and stuff like that. And then you have, like the biggest, tech executives going to breathwork retreats and things like that. There's a huge shift in what's happening. And while I don't believe that you need to be on one side or the other, I'm not saying you're either tech or you're in shamanism and breathwork, no. But that is the changing landscape, right? And so as a creative, let this expand you. Let this show you that, hey, right now, you might be frustrated about what your unique offering is, how you're going to blend all 5 of these parts of your life, of these passions, into one offering. I get it. Feel the frustration, but open as love anyways to allow yourself to be expanded. Lots is changing, shifting, transforming. I hope inside of you, but also in culture at large, as a reflection of sort of the mass change and transformation that individuals are going through. So on a career level, it's pretty bumpy. The path of the multi-passionate is so non-linear. But what is so valuable is your devotion and your trust to continually following your aliveness. because your aliveness is not leading you down a dead end, where that's the end all be all. What you do is you're going to make furniture for the rest of your life. That's all you're going to do. That can be a facet of it, but chances are your aliveness is going to lead you down other routes. Now, those routes don't have to be what you offer the world. Take that pressure off. You know, your deep purpose and your vocation don't necessarily have to be your main vessel of making income. But what they do speak to is your attunement and devotion to the unfolding of your creative aliveness. For polymaths and multi-passionates, this means constantly being connected to what is bringing us more connection and fullness and vitality and aliveness in our work. The more emotionally connected, emotionally attuned we are to ourselves, to the world around us, the more that our work is going to follow that thread of aliveness. You know, your work is truly a reflection of the consciousness behind it. So there's no right or wrong consciousness, right? But to take a good observation of the energy and the state of consciousness that you are creating from. When we are creating from pressure, I need to choose one thing, I need to niche down, I need to pick this career that's going to satisfy me for the rest of my life, that reflects more of a consciousness of fear, of scarcity, of all of the ingredients that you probably don't want to live a deeply fulfilling and nourishing life. Now that can also be an inspiration, right? Sometimes we're inspired by fear. Sometimes we're inspired by that sector of frequency and energy and density. Amazing. But we need to be keenly aware of the place from which we are creating, the consciousness in which our gifts are given. In the same way, like I've talked about in plenty of videos, the difference between authentic desire and neediness, and how neediness is not sexy and tends to push away what we want, but it's there and we have to learn how to honor it and alchemize it so that we can return to authentic desire. I'm doing this because it's what my heart craves, and I'm going to give my gifts anyways, despite the conditions, the circumstances, how I'm received, how I'm understood, not needing approval. You know, I could go on and on and on. So the multi-passionate has to trust this nonlinear career path, because this nonlinear path is really helping you become such an extraordinarily strong, embodied, and in integrity human being and creative that is going to be able to give such powerful, amplified gifts to the world. You know, the embodied creators that I see really making an impact and really cultivating success are those who trust the unfolding of their process and fully devote and commit to what's bringing them alive in each moment. That could be 6 months of deep work devoted towards building, I'll use my own thing, building a blog. Writing every single day, building a blog and a newsletter. You know, I spend 6 months writing about, in my circumstance, what I called the design of self-mastery, and I teetered off in all these directions. And I also realized how little I knew about it, but I got to express myself, right? And while that website has been decommissioned in the last month or so, I do not regret spending that time at all building that asset. Now I still have the newsletter, so that's another thing, but I don't regret any part of that whatsoever, showing up for myself every single day, writing about what felt true to me in the moment, what I'm learning about my creative self, what I'm learning about my emotional body and how that's impacting my business and creativity, and how to create experiments and frameworks that can be applied to other people's lives. Like, so invaluable. And while that's not the form of what now I'm currently focusing on, it was a necessary step to get me to where I am now, focused on embodiment work and emotional intelligence for ambitious creatives, you know. The problem is we want absolute certainty, right? And chances are, if you're multi-passionate, like, you're so intelligent, you're so attuned, you're so connected, and you have a mind that wants to connect all of these dots and create certainty and have not necessarily a plan, but you want to see how you can thread it. But each step is revealed to you, unveiled rather, through your devotion. So you have to fully devote to what is on your plate now, what feels most alive, which could be presenting to you as, I want to start a community men's circle every week. Open circle, everyone's invited, come join the party. And from that devotion, from showing up, from learning about what it feels like to actualize that desire, to cultivate connection with your intuition, you start to become more attuned to what becomes available from that new space of depth. Maybe 3 months in, you meet someone inside that men's circle who's also an entrepreneur, who wants to start something a little bit bigger, something a little bit more impactful, and so you guys talk about, maybe let's start a, cacao bar, wine lounge type of thing. I'm speaking from my own experience because it's all I know. And then maybe in the conversation of that, you go to meet the owner of a building who has a space for rent, and you end up really connecting with the owner of the building. And as much as that idea might not be appropriate, now you're talking with the owner of this building to make something bigger happen in a different space. Devote to A leads to you being able to be open to receive step B. Devotion to B allows you to be able to receive step C. And those can all involve different expressions of what you are passionate about. And there's a lot of trust there. There's a lot of needing to connect deeply to yourself. There's a lot of you stepping up to share your creative gifts. There's a lot of courage. Creativity takes a tremendous amount of courage. You will constantly be faced with imposter syndrome, like you're feeling like you're just not good enough. You're going to get stuck in perfectionism and analysis paralysis. And all of these things, shameless plug, are really some deep dives that I help you, rewire through embodiment experiments in my Embodied Creative Toolkit. So please be sure to check out that. Links in the description. But your continual devotion to each step is going to help you also do the deep work that is necessary for you to cultivate the next skill, the next relationship, the next connection that leads to the next deeper expression of your purpose. Now, I know this kind of sounds wild, right? But this is just the nonlinear career path. If most people are okay with deciding what they want to do for school, going to school, graduating, getting the job that makes them feel like they're applying what they learned, and maybe there's fulfillment there, maybe there's not. It doesn't actually matter. Everyone's going to discover their heart's desire and the fulfillment of that in their own time. But if you're here, you know your path is nonlinear. You're connected to something deeper, and you're a little frustrated because you just want it to all work out. And I'm here to tell you that the sort of seemingness of it not working out, at least according to your projections, is absolutely a sign that it is perfectly working out. What if the frustration of not knowing which route to go was the perfect sort of boiling pot for you to learn more about yourself, for you to be more connected to all parts of you, the passion over here, the passion over there? What if that really helped you get so keen and focused on how can I blend all of these passions together? Something that's feeling more and more true for me is my passion for design and architecture, my unwavering stand to vitality and wellness, and to my deep core of consciousness, of embodiment work, and how all that can blend into a unique offering that looks something like a sauna cold plunge center that also has workshops and events, that can also be a space of presence and community where it can be open in the mornings and the evenings for wine and gathering, all of these things, What if all of that is trying to weave together in a way that just maybe hasn't been created yet. And the only way to get deeper and deeper and deeper clarity is to take more and more bold action, to double down on all of your passions, what's currently bringing you alive, and showing up as that flavor, giving your gifts, to stop hiding. God damn, I realized how much I was hiding behind my multi-passions. I was using all of these passions as a way for me to justify or be right about my fear of being seen, to be right about my fear of not being good enough. Because if I just tinker around with these 10 things, I don't have to actually become a master at any of them, so I don't actually have to really show up fully and give these and take responsibility. I could talk a lot about that journey and how I was hiding behind the pursuit of mastery of many things, when in reality it was just me hiding, playing small. And now as I play bigger, I realize, one, I don't have to be a master. I just have to be pursuing mastery. And two, the world fucking craves the messiness, right? I see so many people hide behind waiting till they're an absolute master in order to share their work, in order to start that business, to pivot their career. But man, I want to call bullshit on that. Like, the world wants your messy, raw, imperfect, unrefined self. They want that in a way that is free of your projections and shit, right? But the world wants to feel the human inside of your work. We don't want the perfect robot, the perfect X, Y, and Z, you name it. So if you're a polymath, I really, really invite you to deepen your connection and sensitivity to the current moment that you're in. To be deeply attuned to the challenges that you're facing, to what you're avoiding, and to the spark and the thread of what's really bringing you more alive. And inquire upon how you can really pull that thread of aliveness, be so present with it even more, and use that aliveness to confront the challenges that you're facing, to open towards what you're avoiding, realizing that those are all lessons and opportunities for your growth and for your expansion as a creative. So the more that you can follow your aliveness, trust that your path is absolutely nonlinear, success is nonlinear, and to live courageously from your creativity, know that those are all the right ingredients that will create such a beautiful moment and experience now, the way that you feel connected to yourself, the way that you wake up excited to give your gifts in whatever shape they take, and also just in the future, which I know isn't real, but we'll hypothetically talk about it for a second. Those are all the ingredients that are going to create an extraordinary life. Trust, devotion, courage, giving of your creative gifts. Fuck. You just have to get out of the fact that hey, it's not going to happen in 3 months. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's going to take a long time. It's already happening now. But what if you fully believe that everything's on its way? How would you act? What would you pursue? What would you express through you? What passions would you amplify? Which ones would you maybe say, hey, you know what, this is a distraction? So as much as I'd love to keep diving into this, this is such a long, beautiful, nuanced topic. Maybe I'll do a workshop on it. But I really think if you enjoyed this, that you'd enjoy the Embodied Creator Toolkit. It's really like the deep dive into the embodiment work through some fun experiments. It's serious, but it's also really fun, of how you can start to play in your life and business and let this unravel and unfold, learn more about yourself, deepen your integrity, deepen your sort of connection to your power and your creativity so that you can really impact the world. So check that out. But in the meantime, I really appreciate y'all for being here. Please subscribe if you haven't. It really helps out the channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of you. Ciao.